Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Talking Town Monday night, 8:30. It's extra time, and I am your host, The Gov, and it's a Bank Holiday Monday, so we all should be happy, excited, and ready for what's to come tomorrow evening in the Reserve Cup. I mean, the Papa John's Cup. But first, we'll go back before we go forward, as always, and look back to a 2-2 home draw that had it all: goals, referee decisions, and poor marking at the back. Everything for us to just chew the fat once more, as we did last night, and commence talking about our favourite football team. The live chat is absolutely really busy already. Love to see a live chat. Please do keep getting those messages in. And of course, if you wish to come on the show and you don't see a link, just say link and I will drop the link into the chat. Alternatively, keep your eyes peeled because it will be coming soon. Michael says, not at our best. Edmondson and Ladapo should be dropped. Burgess and Harness should start next league game. Good evening, Philip. Good evening to the Stowmarket legend, AD Croucher. Jason's here. Stephen's here. Colin is here, ready and waiting. Good man, Colin. Stephen Parry. Good morning to Max Fax from Melbourne. Big up our viewers from the Down Under. Nathan Pearson, our newest YouTube member. Well done, Nathan. Happy Monday. We appreciate you becoming a YouTube member, Nathan. Thanks ever so much for supporting Talking Town. Where am I, Gov? I'm in Stowmarket. Where are you, 80? Because I'm here. And I hope you are here ready and waiting to talk about your favourite football team. Irv has made it on time for once. Irv, good man. He brought the whistle and the yellow and red cards. We might get a bit feisty tonight. Who knows how it will go. Now, don't forget, if you want to follow Nathan's excellent, wonderful, superb Sam Morsey type lead by becoming a YouTube member today, you can click the link now in the chat or head to Ko-Fi and become a fifth standard. They're both the exact same things. They mean the exact same thing. They're just two different platforms, two different ways of possibly supporting your favourite Ipswich Town FC fan platform. The chance to have your say in your own words, unfiltered all of the time. And Joe says, big up the Stowmarket, massive. Well, after today's barbecue at the Crunchers, expertly organised, sir, and thoroughly well cooked, particularly those burgers, I am well fed, and I am certainly the Stowmarket massive this evening, Joe. It goes without saying. Billy Dalton, did you see Griffin was at the Hammers Villa game yesterday? No, I didn't, but I know he gets around. Does Glasgow Griff? Right, joining me this evening is a man you all know, a man you all love, a man that you can truly appreciate like the finest wine on God's green earth, a man that makes all things Talking Town look just amazing. Designer George Nunn.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
I'm not surprised either way either. Talking of which, we had a request, George, for our famous Talking Town pajamas.
What sort of a request?
Where can I buy them from?
Oh, okay.
Seriously.
Oh, there's a link.
This is it.
Here.
Right there, shop.talkingtown.co.uk. So go ahead there and buy all your Talking Town merchandise. But Ken, particularly the pajama top, it didn't start life as the pajama top, but
Please change the description. It's not quite the same as Gov's one, I'll be honest, because Gov's one was kind of a proof of concept, but it's very similar.
See,
that is a one-off.
I am the prototype. I am all things. I am the Omega. That is right, isn't it? The Omega. That sounds good to me. I was thinking about a wrestler there called Umaga. I was thinking, no, that's not quite right. How are you, George? Are you well, my friend?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Double helpings for me at the barbecue today. I hate to see food wasted, George. It's one of my pet peeves.
You did well. I had salad for dinner, so
salad.
I'm jealous of your barbecue.
What sort of salad? When people say salad,
salad's the same. It was
no.
No, it was very good. To be fair, Ash makes a delicious salad. Whatever it is, she can whip up a salad dressing out of pretty much anything. So it was nice. It had all the things you'd expect with some feta cheese on the top, just to make it slightly less healthy.
Well, not all salads are the same, though.
No, I take that back. I've probably just offended every vegetarian and vegan.
My parents would call a salad steak, chips, potato salad, and a bit of lettuce. They'd say to me they'd had a steak salad.
I guess if you chopped it all up and tossed it in a bowl together, I don't know what the definition of a salad is, so that's a can of worms.
It is a can of worms. We'll leave that one well alone. Philip London, I was loving the background poster, George.
That is not a poster. That's a green screen with a thing that I've drawn on it. I can change it.
There you go.
But I didn't have a green screen big enough.
Well, we'll leave that one alone as well. Moving on. You say a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Saturday had a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We didn't really speak since I saw you at the statue briefly as you touched my shoulders to say hello as you walked on by.
Yeah.
2-2 goals, referee decisions, poor defending. What do you think about it? Sat here Monday night now. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, you've summed it up really. I think the frustrating thing about the defending, to briefly touch on that, is that it's kind of what we've talked about before, right? Which is that we just feel like we're constantly not many passes away from ballsing it up somehow at the back and causing ourselves problems. And I think there's still an element of knowing when to just put your foot through it and not worry about what someone's going to think about the tiny little pass that you should have played if you played it on time or whatever. I think that there's an element of just sometimes knowing to put your foot through it and worry about playing the tippy-tappy stuff next time. That's partly the nature of the way we play. I think that's something that it'd be interesting to see Keogh play tomorrow and see how he fits in, because I don't know enough about him, but he strikes me as more of a no-nonsense type centre-back than maybe what we have at the moment. So there'll be some learning potentially for him from that.
You're not going to get that, though, are you?
To be a slightly more level head. Go on.
Not going to get that, though, are you, from a McKenna team? The boot through the ball, the Tony Mowbray, Mark Venus clear lines. Yeah, but they are going to play from the back.
But there's a difference there's a nuance in itself of knowing when that it's okay. Like sometimes it is a bit like sometimes it is okay to play the ball over the top, and as we have been, that you can play a more direct version of football without playing direct football.
Yes,
and I think it looks from the outside like it's just decision making, and that's something that will come. And as we've said before, Keogh I think is a good acquisition, because the two guys that look prone, that can both play football. Don't get me wrong, Edmondson and Wolfenden can clearly play football, but and I mean with the ball at feet, not I'm trying to generalise football, but he is someone that will hopefully come in and say, guys, and especially when he's playing, I would expect him to grab a hold of one of them by the ear and say, next time that happens, just put your foot through it. I don't care where it goes, as long as it doesn't go towards our goal. But
decision making, which is very true, but yet the two goals aren't really down to playing from the back. They're not down to Edmondson or Wolfenden. They're down to Janoy Donassi and Wes Burns, maybe Caden Jackson a little bit, that second set piece. We spoke last week, George. I believe you were on the show. Spoke about it. Aggressiveness at attacking the ball. That was in the opposition's box. How I thought it was quite ironic when I was sitting there at Portman Road thinking about aggressively attacking the ball and how we just didn't aggressively attack either ball.
Yeah, and I think McKenna said as much about the first one, didn't he? Was that we're not attacking the second ball enough, and yeah, we've got to make that ours. And get rid of it. But that's a similar thing, right? We need to know when to get after the ball and just get it out, get it away. And we're not perfect. We're 6 games into the season, so who would expect us to be perfect at this point? But yeah, I don't think. I think dwelling on defensive errors at this point, because then it's not like those things were issues that we've seen over and over again. So I don't think, particularly over the first 6 or 7 games of the season, including the cup. So I'm not too worried about that. I mean, referee wise, we've probably covered the goal that never was.
We spoke about it last night, but how did you see it from your perspective? Because I don't think I've seen a man, woman, or child alive yet until it's not a goal, except one man, the man that matters.
Yeah, I think in real time at the game, I don't think anyone that I was with or that was around me could fathom how it wasn't a goal. I think in most replays, when you watch it real time, it's very difficult to see how it wasn't a goal. When you watch it frame by frame in super slow motion, you could argue, and I'm sure the Referees Association or whatever they're called would argue that, Harness put his hands up on his shoulder to get around him. So, justified. I don't agree with that, but I think that's what we would hear if as and when we moan about it. I think it's, look at it in super slow motion. You can't put your hands up on someone's shoulder. In real time, he clearly didn't put any meaningful pressure. And if you're going to give a free kick in that situation, the free kick is for either the high foot or the very close to foul that came from the other side of Harness as well. So, to not give him the run of play after that was harsh, I think. Particularly, I mean, the finish was exceptional.
Lovely finish. Slid across the goal like that on the move. A really good finish. I've got the Fisherman coming in. We are hugely vulnerable to any cross into the box. And Roy Clark, their 2 goals were scored by not very tall players. So it has to go down as bad defending. Fisherman, how you doing this evening, Monday night? It's sort of, the last chance to put the stamp on the weekend. How are you seeing it? How are you feeling it now? Some, 72 hours on, etc.
Elephant in the room, innit? Referee was shocking, I ain't going to lie. Although I don't blame the referee for our result, I do. I mean, how he can call that a foul, I'll never know in a million years. I've been a referee from youth all the way to adult. Richie's done it as well. I just can't see how he can call that. If anything, if Harness doesn't connect with that ball and it goes in the back of net, that's more. If anything, it's a penalty. I mean, he's got the players just turned his. He's tried to. I don't know what the player's doing, the defender's doing, but he's just rolled on his back and said, "Oh look, ref, I've gone down." It was shocking. It
was, but it wasn't given. Marcus Harness is the goal scorer. He's the man left out of the team. How did you see the selection Saturday?
Didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with it. I can't understand why Ladapo started. Burgess should have been on that left. Edmondson hasn't been great. I thought we were poor. I agree with Cruncher. I didn't think we were great for probably 70 minutes of that game. And yet, there was times when there was a lot of huff and puff with tiki-taka football, and it's all very well doing it, but we've said this before. We're in League bloody 1. We're not in the Championship. We're not in the Premier League. We need to play sometimes a little bit more direct. Mick Mills summed it up for me. Forget about the referee. Mick Mills summed it up for me, right? In that first half, the manager set Barnsley up perfect to stifle us big time. And their front three were pushing on our back, and we were really struggling to get the ball out of the back. Their midfield were forcing our 2 midfielders back. Morsey and Evans were being pushed back. And there was so much gap behind them with Chaplin and Adapo and JJ up front. If we'd have just played a few more long passes to them, we would have probably had more shots on goal. In fact, the first half, I think we had 1 shot on goal, wasn't it? And that was a free kick.
Yeah.
That's all very well playing this nice fancy football in League One, and it looks good. And when we win, it's like, yes, look at us, we're the best team in League One. But the reality is, what the hell was happening with our defending? I know we do zonal, but as a level 1 coach, I always did zonal, and I always say to lads, look, by the time that ball is kicked from the corner flag to the centre of the penalty spot, or around that area, you should be able to do a 5-yard pass, 5-yard run to attack that ball all day long. And we didn't. None of our defenders them headers were poor. It was just so badly defended, and no one attacked that flight of the ball at all. And that's what you do with zonal. You set up zonal, and if that ball is heading towards your zone, you attack that ball. And we didn't do that. It's no good blaming Danassian or blaming Edmondson. It's the whole setup, the whole zonal system didn't work.
It's a fair point, George, and there's 2. We'll come to the selection before we come to the zonal. Were you surprised Saturday when you saw the team, Marcus Harness, your informed player, left out?
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, do we know why he was left out? Whether it was tactical or because he needed to rest for 6 minutes. I don't know. Yeah, I think a little bit, but as I think we said last week, that when I was last on, like it's going to be, and it is, and will continue to be almost impossible to predict a McKenna side because so much goes into it in terms of it's not just about he scored 3 goals in the last 3 games, so that's all 4 games, so let's keep him in the squad. So much you get the impression that so much more thought goes into the 11 than that, and rightly or wrongly, like that's the way he coaches, right? So I think yes, I probably was surprised. I think most people were, but I'm not arguing against it because he knows an awful lot more than me.
Do you think long term, over a protracted amount of time, Mike? Do you think the tinkering that he does will be to his detriment or benefit in the long term? Because you're already sat here today saying to me, Burgess should have played. I'm saying Harney should have played. 2 players left out. We expect, they may well come back in next Saturday. He's always, as George says, going to be that sort of tinker man, for a better word.
But you've only got to look at sort of previous managers, not just us, other clubs where they tinker around with the team too much. The reason why teams get promoted out of this league is because they keep a consistent side. You try and tinker around too much. You just don't overthink it. It's not that hard, is it? You play your best team. Yep. You play your players that are on form. You get your result in the first half. If you're winning 2 or 3-0 in the first half, say, or if you're winning in the first half and then you go 2-0 up in the second half, then okay. Then if you feel like you need to shut up shop or change the tactics slightly, then do so. But why start with a different team that won the previous game? I don't get my head around that. Burgess for me is playing better than Edmondson at the moment. And Ladapo for me is just not cutting the edge. Look, I'm struggling to understand why he was brought in because he always played with a 2 at Rotherham, and he's never going to play at a 2 here because McKenna doesn't play that style. He plays this Man United Premier League style football in League One. Well, good luck to you, mate. If it works, then I'll but at the end of the day, League One is about mix and match, and sometimes you have to change your tactics sometimes, and even change your formation, just to try and just to get results in this league and just get out of this league. People moan at me for being negative and stuff like that, but I've grown up in my era of winning a lot of things. Seeing Ipswich being successful. I don't want us to win every week. I demand us to win every week. I don't want us to get out of this league. I demand to get out of this league. And that's the bottom line. It's yes, I go about it sometimes a bit wrong, and I get that. But the reality is that as a football fan, you want the best for your club. And yes, what you say, George. Yes, McKenna knows more than us as a footballer, but doesn't mean to say that our opinions is less than his just because he knows more.
No, that's not right.
Cook knew more than us, and where did that get him?
Well, Chesterfield. That's where it got him.
Exactly,
Mike,
exactly.
wonderful points coming in from you. You've got a number of people waiting. Before I let you go, are you bothered about the Pizza Cup?
Not in a million years. Look. Fringe players, get out there. Players like Humphreys, all them. New Keogh, get out there. And I'd even consider playing the Dapo to try and get him some goals. Because I think maybe if he got 1 or 2 goals, his confidence might be a little bit up. But look, Pizza Cup, couldn't give a toss about it. Most important thing is get out of this league.
And I don't think there's a person, anyone in the chat that would disagree with you. Mike, we love you, man.
All the best, guys. Yeah, take care.
Good to be back on the platform. Really appreciate you, big man. Got 2 thank yous. We've got 2 super chats. Jason Fisk, £5. Thank you very much, Jason. And David, €20. Thank you ever so much to the pair of you. Please do, if you want to support the show. Super chat is available. Mentioned Ladapo there before I bring Louis in. Would you play him tomorrow? Would you be tempted at all, George, to get him off the mark if he could get someone on the mark?
Yeah, he's in my 11.
Okay.
I think he's got to play until he scores. And as I've said before, I think we're 1, if not 2, creative attacking players short, and I think that's what we'll be after over the next 3 days. So Ladapo's, he needs to get goals under his belt. He needs to score. And he's not going to do that sitting on the bench or sitting at home or in the stands watching. So if I was him, I'd be itching to stay out on the pitch and get myself off the mark, because I thought he was unlucky on, I don't know what's going on with my camera, by the way, I don't know if it keeps flashing, but I thought he was unlucky. He had one chance on Saturday that sort of bounced off of his shin and could have gone anywhere, and it was very close in. And he just needs one of those to go in, and then he'll be up and running. And I don't think at this point, I imagine it doesn't matter to him or anyone how it comes. He just needs to get off the mark. So yeah, I'd start him tomorrow all day long.
Okay, we've got Ashley Bell. It's not the reason we didn't win, but we are in desperate need of a striker that can play in the one-up top role. Hurst off to Blackburn. By all accounts, they've got 72 hours to act. Craig, I'll come back to that comment actually when I bring Neil in, see what he makes of it. Craig Priest, if refs perform badly in the Premier League and Championship, they end up in our league for a week. Sure, this needs addressing. Performance-related matches can't be right in this day and age. Mike Baker, if we're sitting here in another 10 games, only lost 1 or 2 games, I don't get a rat's ass what football we play. Stephen Parry, Emerson did nothing wrong. What did he do? Good point. We'll grab Stephen's thoughts in a moment as well. Mike D. Burgess gets turned too easily. He makes Joe Ironside look like Erling Haaland. Our opinions are worth less than McKenna. Our opinions don't pick the team. No, but it's our opinions that really matter. They listen, George, don't they? At HQ, Portman Road.
Yeah, I'm sure he's there taking notes.
No.
Just to go back to
McKenna.
Just to go back to what I was saying, and this isn't now that he's gone, but because I would have said it while he was here, and it's not really arguing with you. I'm just the point. What I was trying to sort of get across about McKenna is that he doesn't come from that old school. We won the last game, so stick with the same 11 and play the same football, and that's going to get us through. You get the impression that everything that we're set up and setting ourselves up to do is way more statistic based, and it's about matchups across the pitch, whether that's tactics, like little bits and pieces within the formation, because the formation, yes, is relatively similar every week, but it's never this, like, you hear people arguing about how we're like evolving as the game goes on, and no, we're playing 4 at the back, but that's because we adapt, and you get the impression that, and I'm totally lost. Like I'm not, as I said many times before, I'm not a football coach. And so when football becomes that kind of dynamic, it's gut feel for me in terms of whether it's working or not. But I completely trust McKenna and his team to be sitting and saying, look, this week, Burgess, he did great last week, but he's not going to work against the matchup he's got, or he needs a rest because he's got a knock, or whatever it might be. But I don't think under McKenna and probably under anyone that Ashton hires, we are going to be the sort of team that plays that kind of football that will just play the same 11 week in, week out. And that's not so that we won't ever do it, because it may get to the point where the 11 that we have can adapt to all of those little bits and pieces that McKenna wants to do. But I'd be amazed if we go 5 or 6 games at any point with the same squad.
Likewise, it seems to be the modern thing, as you absolutely say, you're spot on. And as Uzul says, we don't question it when we win, and that is a great point. But football's one of those sort of fickle mistresses where when you win, you ain't bothered how you've won and what the sort of team that got you there was. When you don't win, like Saturday, and you do play with it, you do second guess yourself, or you do try and play a little bit cute or a little bit smart with your matchups, etc. Whichever one you'll, pick your poison, so to speak, of the excuse. There will be fans out there that do question it and say, was that the right decision? Yeah. You can trust somebody, which is what I think myself and you do implicitly with McKenna, but still question and say, was that a mistake in hindsight? Was what they had thinking the incorrect one? Neil, I mentioned the striker to you. Welcome in. Lovely shirt, by the way. Big Freddie Ladapo, used to a 2. Now, on last night's show, Lee Anderson was, we're not going to play a 2. And Adrak, who's a Rotherham fan, said what Lee said was rubbish. If Town played 2 up front, they concede a lot of possession. Can he explain how we, which is Rotherham, had probably the best defensive record in the EFL last season playing 2 up top? Beats me why McKenna brought Ladapo to Town when he must have seen how he thrived in a 2 up front, albeit that Smith was a dominant player. It's hard to argue with Adrak when Rotherham are playing in the league above, having played 2 up top. Do you subscribe to Ladapo being purely a 2-man striker, or do you think he's got the attributes that can play that one that we're asking him to do?
I think I'm no expert, but I think he would probably benefit in a 2. Doesn't seem to be working in a 1, does it, at the moment? I do subscribe to what someone said yesterday, though. I do think once he does manage to hit the net, I think he will get us goals. But it's just not happening for him at the minute, is it? And I don't think we're going to change from this one up front, are we? I just don't think we're going to play any different than that.
What do you think goes through? Because you're quite an analytical sort of thinking person, George. What goes through the mindset of this recruitment strategy when you've got a player that fans say thrives in a 2, and you play a 1? Because you must have seen something, identified something, but then you could have identified something that's not quite there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into how he's played in the 2. There'll be, like I say, there'll be dozens of other metrics and analytics that they'll have looked over, and they'll have, he'll have come out close to the top of the kind of players that we were looking for. Whatever the numbers were that we were looking for, he would have come out close to the top of it. And I'm sure they would have had those conversations. They've probably had those conversations with him and trying to talk to him about, how his game needs to change and all the rest of it. That's what they're there to do, is to coach him to be a better footballer, right? Not to just chuck him into a 2 and say, carry on doing what you've been doing. We talked about this before when I said about when Crunch had a meltdown because I used the word project. Like, every single player in this squad is a project. If you haven't got something to be that you've been given as a goal to make yourself better as a professional, then give up, because you're either got a terrible manager or you are the perfect footballer, and we don't have the perfect.
29, can he be a project?
Of course he can be a project. I'm 43 years old, give or take 6 weeks, and I'm constant. I still get given goals and targets. I still got given goals and targets to hit at work that my boss still talks to me about things that constructively I can do to improve. That's no different whether it's a physical job or a mental job or whatever else it is. Like, you can always improve. And again, if you don't think you can improve as a professional, give up.
It's a fair point.
It's as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. It's not any more complicated, and it can't be that difficult. If he's a striker that can score goals, it's about movement, positioning, awareness that he needs to get, I would imagine, to be better at playing that 1. But I don't think it's just him, and I don't really think that playing a more direct brand of football is going to work with the players we have right now. I think we are short on attacking options, and I think that's becoming increasingly obvious from when we make substitutions, and it's just not quite carrying on with the momentum, or a little bit too much is having to change. It just feels a bit clunky when we make those to me, again, gut feel from the outside, like it just feels like we're lacking. And I know Gab talked about this on with you guys and on Twitter with various people, like, about he thought that Selena was missing. I get what he was saying in terms of us not having the creative player, and we'd miss him. I don't think we miss Selena because he didn't really set the world alight last year, but that kind of influence that can play through the middle and link up that gap, or play with that can move into a 2, because we're not that flat, are we? Everybody's moving all the time. You watched in the first half, the Dapo and John Jules were constantly swapping in the first half because we obviously knew that we weren't being penetrative enough, so they were moving stuff around. And we talked in the summer about this. I think that's exactly what the style that we want. We want 3 players up front who can just, whatever's needed, McKenna gives them the wink, and that's how we adapt. And I don't think we're quite there yet up front. And it's not just the Dapo that's misfiring as an attacking unit.
There's certainly a fluidity to the front 3. Ashley Bell, he's a professional footballer. He should have played a 2 or a 3, which is what I was saying last night's show. For me, Saturday, he looked disinterested. I didn't say the last bit, but for me, Saturday, he looked disinterested, for a better word, lazy. If you're not going to score, at least work hard. Paul Harper, the Dapo, hasn't proven himself yet at this style of play. I'm not sure it's a skill set to create a goal for himself like JJ. Legacy debates, old dog, new tricks don't work, play to their strengths. Doesn't matter who the manager is. Every striker we bring in won't play to their strengths. Whatever the style they've played previously, we expect them to fit in with our style. Elephant's Graveyard. I'm gonna ask a question now. we've been chasing George Hurst all summer. Is Freddie Ladapo the number one striker target? Is he the man they anticipated to be spearheading the line 9 out of 10 times for Ipswich Town Football Club? Or was it George Hurst supposedly the big money man? Because it would have been money, whether it been 500,000 or not. It's still more than Ladapo's value coming in. Was he the man? Are we sitting with our number 2 striker currently performing the number 1's job?
Yeah, I don't believe that Ladapo was the first choice. I'm not convinced by Hurst. People kept going on about Hurst, but I still think that obviously Thursday's the window shuts. I still think it could just be someone that for me, I just think we just need one more striker. That's what I personally believe to this team. I think the team's more than good enough. We're just one striker short. That's my opinion. And I think by Thursday, it could just be someone just really left field who we've not even spoke about or anything. I don't think it'll be Hurst, but I think we could well get a striker in by Thursday. A good proven striker possibly by Thursday. I think
a proven striker in by Thursday. That's you're
possibly.
asking,
I mean, it'll cost a bit of money. It'll cost a bit of money again, won't it?
I think a walk on water. But at this point, Monday evening, I mean, unless he's got a real rabbit out of his hat, that's a proven striker. That's going to cost money at this stage now. Like, we're not talking $1 million.
Yeah, it'll cost money. It'll cost money. Otherwise, maybe we look to get a loan and see where we are in January, and then splash a bit of cash in January, possibly. But I think we only need a striker for the team. I think we're more than good enough. As I said before, I think Chaplin will get guaranteed to get you 12 to 15 goals. He's a cracking player, that guy. I think Jules. I think John Jules can get you 10, and I said as well. I think Morsey will get you 6 to 8 goals. He's already got 2, and he'll do that. He'll get 6 to 8 goals as well. So there's about 30 goals already. So I think we're in a good place, really. We've dropped a few points, a couple of bad mistakes the other day, but, far better than last year. A lot of positives, aren't there?
Absolutely. Neil, and one of the bigger positives, seeing you back on the platform, my man. Thank you for coming on, sitting, speaking with us. It's been a while.
Yeah, not been feeling so well the last couple of days, to be honest. Don't know if I got a virus or something, so I'm not in work tomorrow. I've already phoned in sick, so just wanted to come on tonight and have a few words. But yeah, just it's not COVID, but just feeling a bit rough, really. So
well, we appreciate it, and we're here again tomorrow night, the Matchday Ticket Live. So do join us, and we'll keep you company from the west side of Great Britain. Look after yourself.
Take care, guys.
Good man. Bye. We've got Andy. He says, if we don't get a striker in, we'll fall away and finish mid-table again. Stephen Parry, the man who always talks sense. If we don't get a striker in, we'll fall away and finish mid-table again. What's your thoughts on that one?
It's tough to say that's what will happen based on the way the season started. Yeah, I'm not saying another striker's not needed. People don't agree with me, but I think another striker would help Ladapo by doing what Ball does with Evans, keeps him honest, pushes him, and makes him be better than what he could be right now. Maybe he thinks he's got no pressure to perform as well as he has to perform, because all he's got is Jackson to replace him. Everybody says TJJ. TJJ came here as a number 10. We know this. That's why he keeps playing in the number 10. He played in the number 9 once. Yeah. And, McKenna gave his reasoning to why he played at number 9 that game. I think the reason he played, I don't know this for a fact, but I can imagine the reason he played instead of Harness was he wanted to dip Harness out anyway, like he did with Chaplin the other week. And TJJ played well. So he probably bowed to a bit of pressure and thought to himself, well, it's hard to drop him. And thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity to give Marcus a rest. People can say it was a mistake, but on reflection, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was calculated. I think it was planned. And we didn't do anything bad. At the end of the day, his setup was fine. His setup got 3 goals. Yeah. His setup can't legislate for defensive issues and a referee mistake. That's one thing a manager cannot predict. 5'2" players heading goals in from 14 yards. No matter how much planning you do, you can't legislate for that. And the first goal was even worse. That was lucky as hell. The free kick came in, hit the wall. The only place it could land was where it landed It could have gone anywhere. It landed at a Barnsley player. It could have gone over the bar and anywhere, but it landed at the foot of a Barnsley player, which got us out of position. Everybody then, because we were all in a line for a wall, hits the wall, goes to the Barnsley player. They're all out of position because they were set up for a free kick and not a cross in the box. So that sort of thing, McKenna can't legislate for that. But if you look at the way we played, and Lee made a good point on the after chat last night. I know we set off and we started games, and it seems like first half we're not at it, and it looks like we're not at it. But you've got to take into account the other team will be at it as well, yeah. But in the second half, we seem to be able to go for like 100 minutes, and the other team can't keep up with us for 100 minutes. You know, in the 8 minutes of added time, we had 3 really good chances to win that game, and that was in the 98th, from the 90th to the 98th minute. You know, we dominated them because they ran out of steam and we didn't. And I think that's how we're playing. You know, we're going to slip up. I'm not saying that not signing a player won't help. You know, we like signings. Players like signings. Managers want. No, when a manager says I don't want any more players, he's lying. They always want more.
Of course they do.
Yeah. More as owners. You know, so I do think that, you know, one thing that I was thinking about earlier is why is this Simpson thing taking so long? We already know he's done his interview. Are we looking at a Huddersfield player in return? And until that is sorted out, you know,
possibly
rumours Josh Corona might want out of Huddersfield. You know, what I'm saying is there's wheels behind the scenes that we're not privy to. And everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be a disaster. I don't know whether it will be a disaster. We won't know that till May. You know, we can say it's a disaster now, but that's based on nothing. If you're basing it off what we've done so far this season, it's a false premise because we've got 14 points from 6 games. So if you're just basing it off what we've done so far this season with this side, you can argue we've not played anyone really good, you know, but if you remember before the season, MK Dons were in most people's top 6. Barnsley was in a lot of people's top 6.
Yep.
Both in a lot of people's top 6. They didn't beat us. But because they're at the bottom of the table now, or when we played them, they weren't top 6 sides, but they were before the season started. And people need to realise that. You know, everybody was tipping MK Dons to be up there. I still tip them to be up there. Yeah. But when we played them, they weren't up there. So it doesn't count as a top 6 side. But 2 weeks ago, it did.
Isn't it less about that, George, and more about, you know, roughly by historic measures, how many goals gets you the prizes come May? Isn't it about looking at your squad and thinking, can you get those number of goals currently within the setup of the football squad? And the Dapo is your number 1 striker, whether he was your number 1 target or always meant to be your plan A. Currently, he is your plan A with Caden Jackson as your plan B. We know about KJ's scoring record. It's a joke among some of the live chat members. If it was a Bond to come in, for example, isn't that, how would you feel about that as a football fan? Does that raise your confidence level knowing the number of goals historically this football a club needs to get to win points, or is it going to keep it where it is? Because for me, I'm looking at this squad and I'm thinking, I really think it's a 10 to 15 goal striker, and I don't know if Bond, off playing with McKenna's style of play, is the man. If he fits it, if it's plan Z, George Hurst was talked about all summer. If the Dapo will come good and get those goals, where's your confidence level? Forget the teams you've played for a minute. Look at the number of goals historically. Where's your confidence level within the squad?
So Nathan's comment there is absolutely right. So yes, this setup looks like we can score from anywhere, and at the moment we are proving that we can score from anywhere apart from up front. And I don't think anyone is suggesting that this setup doesn't work really well for getting goals from right across the hopefully right across the team. But the issue for me at the moment is that we don't have a number 9 who can chip in. And I think that, and imagine if we had a number 9 who was also part of that free scoring group of players. That's when we kick on for me. So at the moment, it's not working for Ladapo. Jackson has never proven that he can be that player to be relied on to score goals. So I think we're still short. In terms of specifically Bon, I think we've had this chat privately, and I think that it's difficult with Bon because I think he proved that he can score goals at the beginning of last season. He had a rough ride, so I'm not really putting too much on his performance in the second half of last season because I wouldn't want to. I don't know that proved that he can't play in McKenna's style. I don't think we've seen him in the right frame of mind as much as anything. I think the problem with Bon is that we arguably could have got Bon 2.5 months ago.
Right.
And I think if he comes in between now and the end of the window, and he is the only player that comes in between now and the end of the window, he will be on a hiding to nothing because everyone, and we have a difficult fan base, will assume that we've been forced into a corner and he's the guy that we've got because, I'm exaggerating, but spent too long trying to chase down Hurst or whatever the situation is. It feels like, and I think the first time, and I can't remember if it was you that I said to at the weekend, but the first time in his first game that Bon gets caught offside, and we know it's going to happen.
Yep.
The groans I would probably be able to hear from Norwich. Like I can just see it, and I'm not saying it's right. I just think it feels like it's just. I'd love for him to come in, and I'd love for him to make that return that we all want him to make, and for him to get. If 15 goals is all we need from him, he was pretty close to that in a third of the season last season. So we know he's got it in him. And I would love to get him back and have the fairy tale return, but I'd be concerned about how if he doesn't start scoring immediately and doesn't fit in and doesn't become that number 9 who can chip in with the goals. If we keep rotating between Bon and Bon not being consistent and the Dapo not being consistent and KJ not being consistent, it's just there's something about it that just doesn't quite feel right. I think we as the thing that's going to placate us as a fan base, and it's ridiculous, is if we either sign Hurst or someone that feels like we've been chasing, or someone completely out of left field. Okay. And we're not going to get a proven goal scorer because it comes £2 million to get.
Not without overpaying.
And he scored a dozen goals for Pompey last. You can't get a proven goal scorer because you can only sign an aging guy who scored 30 odd goals the season before and is now free. And that's not, and they've all gone.
Yeah. That said, I'm a big believer of the Moneyball system. I've been talking about it all summer. I think, you do need some big performances, Stephen, like Morsey getting 7+, Evans getting 4. He's got 1 already, 2 possibly. He's got 2 already, 1 or 2 already. Harness, Chaplin and Burns all getting 12 each. I'm about 30 goals in total short, just from a quick calculation on my bit of paper. That means I need 3 players to score 10 goals. Do I believe a Bon type striker, not necessarily Bon, but a Bon type, Jackson and then a Dapo could get 10 each? Because it's a big ask for Jackson alone to get 10, isn't it? It being that third striker.
Well, you were going off historically, yeah? Yeah, and you can say, well, he played in the 2, so it doesn't count. Yeah, but he's a striker. Doesn't matter whether he played in 2. If you're passing the ball, I
agree with you, yeah, 100%.
Whether it's Smith heading the ball down to him or Burns crossing the ball to him, yeah, he's a striker. And historically, Ladapo's had 10, virtually at least 10 every single season. Yeah, so historically, you'd say yes, Ladapo can get you 10. Could Bond get you
Jackson?
10? Probably not, but
So where's those goals going to come from? If you lose those 10, if you get you 7,
well, maybe then Ladapo gets you 12. Yeah, maybe if it's Bon, he comes in and gets 12 like he got last year. Then you only have to find 3. You know what I mean? We're trying to make a numbers game out of something that's not numbers, because at the end of the day, people say historically you need this amount of goals. Well, at the end of the day, if your defense is good, you don't need that many goals. You win games by being solid at the back. That's why we lost on Saturday, not because a referee made a mistake, because we fundamentally failed in defending. Yeah, we already had 2 goals, and with both times we let the lead slip, and we still towards the end of the game, had chances to win that game, and we didn't do it. So we can argue all we like how many you score. You win games from having a solid base, and we've had that most of the season. You know, I think probably Saturday was an aberration. Yeah, when you consider the games that we've played, and we've dominated near enough every game. And I look at it, when we've got the ball, they can't score. In virtually every game, we have the ball about 60% of the time. Yeah. And they've got the ball about 40%. Convert the possession from they have in their half, it means they've got about 20% in our half. So they've got, if we get 2 goals, say that's over 20 minutes, they've got 20 minutes to get 2 goals. You know, that's very hard to do week in, week out. If we can do the 2 goals week in, week out. So there it is there. You know, like same with Hurst. And people are going to say, we've got to get, how do we know we're still actually interested in Hurst? All we've got is a report from months ago, a media report from months ago that we made a bid. And since then, it's been like, we're still interested. Yeah, but our interest, it said our interest, we were still interested in Selena. And then we found out later on when he'd gone to Turkey, after the only reason he accepted the second offer is Turkey, because we never got back to him when he refused the first offer from Turkey, which was 2 weeks earlier. So we were, for the last 2 weeks, we weren't that bloody keen on Selena. So how do we know at this moment in time, Hurst is our number 1 target? We don't. It's because we don't know anything else. We're all just fumbling in the dark, trying to see.
But who doesn't love a good fondle in the dark?
I agree. My wife loves it. You know what I mean? But the top and bottom of it is, I think there's a deal to be done. I think there's a deal done. If it's Bond, to be honest, I'm not fussed. I think Bond's biggest problem last season was when Burns got injured. I will say that to this day.
You ever thought about being a salesman, Steve? Because you could make me buy anything.
Yeah, but a lot of his goals, if you remember, came from whip balls from Burns into the box. Yeah, and as soon as Burns got injured, that came about the time that Bond lost his form, and then shortly after that, Cook got sacked. Yeah, true. He was he was in the wilderness then. Plus, he had his issues. You know, let's be fair. You know, if everyone's turning around and saying, "Well, Pigot's got to be cut some slack because he has issues," well, so does Bond. Yeah, let's not start picking fights and saying there's different things for different people. There's not. If you've got issues, the human beings, after all, you know, these things matter. Yeah. At the end of the day, and when McKenna came in, someone was saying, well, he was being rotated all the time. McKenna was doing what every new manager does. He was playing all his players, and seeing who he wanted and who he didn't want. Yeah. Bond was a lone player. Doesn't mean that he wasn't wanted. Doesn't mean McKenna didn't like him. It just means he wasn't his player to deal with. So he was going to go back. Now, would he be a last resort thing? Maybe. We'll never know that.
Oh, so, no, we do.
No, you're assuming that.
Okay. Because it's quite a big assume with a capital A.
No, it's not, because unless you've had conversations with Bond, McKenna or Mark Ashton, you don't know where he is on the list.
But wouldn't he have been here already? Wouldn't there have been smoke signals around that transfer?
Why?
Because nothing in football is a kept secret. Nothing in football.
Depends when we make an approach. We might have already made an approach. Just because Mark Ashton's not gone around telling everybody, and all the Indonos are going, oh, this person's coming tomorrow, doesn't mean anything. You know, nobody came. Let's be fair. Nobody knows anything. You know, ADT don't know anything. Nobody knows sod all. We're all just fumbling in the dark.
Views of their own, not the network.
Well, whatever. It's true, though.
I think that's a little harsh.
Views of their own.
Not just on the EADT. I think there are people out there that have knowledge about things that are going on.
Maybe so. But how, you know, at the end of the day, what was it? It was only 2 weeks ago. What was it? It was about a week ago. Hurst was signing new contracts at Leicester. Now, unless they've lost him, or they can't find a pen, that was obviously BS. Yeah.
Hang on, Steve. Just don't forget, if you want to get your local ITK knowledge, put ITK in the chat and Cruncher's face will appear.
Yes.
So do not forget that. We can bring our own ITK. Stephen, I know you're making a lot of sense, but I've got two.
I just want to say one more point.
Go through it quickly.
I enjoy these rumours. Yeah, I love them to bits. Yeah. All I'm saying is, no matter who comes in, we've got to support them. We've got to back them. Yeah. Always. I don't want anybody turning around and saying, oh, this is a third-rate player. We got him because we couldn't get this person. Because Hurst wasn't any better.
You know that they will, and that will.
I know.
I wasn't advocating that as an approach.
That is why
our fan base will.
That is why sometimes players fail because they don't feel like they're being supported, and we're fans, and that's what we're here
again.
to
That's
do.
why Kevin Minch's role is so important at the club.
All I'm saying is, let's just look at last season. If we're going off history, Hurst was no better than Bond. It was just done in a different order. That's all I'm saying.
I like it, Stephen, and I like you. If you ever become a double glazing salesman, do not come near me because I do not want to buy them. And I know I would.
It's horrible.
I know I would because you could get me to buy anything. It's the northern accent, says the fisherman. I can't comment, but you're just that trusting voice. I just want to, I'd buy a bridge if you said you had one. We love you, Stephen.
Thanks very much, guys.
Look after yourself. We'll look after yourself. Yeah. I like the little emojis in the chat. They bring a little sound. Je ne sais quoi.
To the chat and what's going on in the thing.
I
can't see the emojis. I don't think in the.
You can't see them in the chat on StreamYard, no, but you can see them in the chat on YouTube. But I've got two on the go.
I don't get to interact with the chat on StreamYard because that's not a feature that.
What do I do? Have two on the go at the same time. Chat status.
I'm pretty sure my computer would die.
It would do well. Mine. That's why mine dies and leaves guests fumbling around in the dark on their own. So I've got two guests waiting. I'm going to bring them both in at various points. I can sense a little bit of anxiety from the fan base about a striker and the window closing. Now suddenly it's here. Last week there was sort of none. Now we're only a days.
Yeah, but there was no anxiety about what we were doing last week in terms of tactics and stuff, and we were top of the league, and now we're second on points, goals scored, goals against, and we're basically still top. I don't know why we're not, because it's obviously not done alphabetically. I assume it goes to home goals or something.
Not on budget.
But we're still basically top of the league. We had a bit of a for one reason or another rough ride of it on Saturday, and now it feels like we're being much more critical of what's going on, and that's what football fan bases are like these days.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I want to talk about two things really, and I'll bring some royalty in just a moment to help me discuss these things. But first of all, it's the McKenna table since he arrived. He's played 29 games. The league table, he'd be sitting in third with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 wins, 55 points since he arrived, George. Is that sound about right with you? I thought there's only two teams better, according to the calculations or the table that Kev Sherwood sent to the Cruncher, which is Wednesday and MK Dons. So, historically, over a protracted amount of time, McKenna's got it right more than he's got it wrong.
Yeah, you absolutely can't deny that. I don't think I haven't compared against other teams.
We need to remind ourselves from time to time, don't we?
Well, I guess we do. But yeah, I mean, I've run some numbers over the time that McKenna's been with us in terms of how we've changed over his time. Rather than compare us to others, it's more about whether we're improving or not. And they're only basic numbers based on scores, so I'm not getting into XG and stuff. I saw somebody post something on Twitter earlier about did you see the thing about expected points, and literally, are you getting to this? Because they had a league table of expected points and literally nobody had the points that they had, which just seemed ridiculous.
Or Bournemouth, Liverpool, expected goals 3.
You can get too bogged down in some statistics. I think
that's a shit, mate. There you go. I said it.
we do have to be a little bit. We do have to be a little bit careful not to contradict ourselves in terms of saying that we're playing numbers-based football and then saying, but we just need to have a solid back line and lump the ball forward and score lots of goals. But we're like, not that anyone said that, but I think undeniably we are a better team than we were. If I was McKenna, I would be looking at how things are improving over time. I've spent like 25 minutes putting some numbers into a spreadsheet this afternoon and not really come up with an awful lot of insight. The thing that I'm most concerned about over 6, and it's only 6 games, so it's really nothing, is that our average, our goals against has gone up from 0.5 to 0.7, which seems ridiculous, but over 46 games means over 9 goals extra conceded.
Don't often lose by a 0.7 goal, though, do you?
No, you don't. But over a season, 9 goals can make a massive difference in the wrong place.
I was teasing.
But that's just trying to find something that suits a talking point that we can talk about for 30 seconds. Like it's way too early in this season to tell whether the summer's activity, both in the transfer market, which isn't over yet, and on the training pitch, which looks more positive, you'd probably argue, in terms of fitness and the general understanding of the play that the football that we play. It's too soon. Like in 10 games time, I think we'll be able to make more of it, because it will be much closer to the same number of games that he played last season and played this. And that's what he'll be worried about. He won't be comparing himself to Paul Cook, and he won't probably be comparing himself to Portsmouth or Peterborough or Sheffield Wednesday or anyone else.
Mary Berry compares herself to the dinner ladies. Like...
but you know what I mean? Like he strikes me as the sort of person that wants to be himself week on week, in terms of I can get better at this. I don't really care what anyone else is doing, because if I'm as good, my team can be as good as I know and I think they can be, then it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, because we're going to get 2.3 points a game, and we will romp this league with 107 points or whatever it.
My concern with it is the 10 draws over the period. It's still turning those draws into victories. But one man that can certainly help us do it is Connor Chaplin. And I'm going to bring up some stats. And instead, stats are shit, but I'm going to bring them up anyway, because when they suit my narrative, by damn it, they're good stuff. But to help me talk through Connor Chaplin and what he brings to the side, we're going to bring in another guest in just one moment.
Ipswich Buses, your local bus company. Don't get stuck in traffic. Ditch the car. Go green. Go contactless. Go Ipswich Buses. Fares available from £2.20 return, a fantastic price and a fantastic service. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town.
Callie!
How are you doing, lad? Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you. We can see you. The king has returned to his court to bring calm upon the scene, I'm sure.
Yeah, man. It's
good to see
silver linings and all that. Let's what was that? 6
How was the wedding festival?
No, that was a wedding prep. The wedding's in September 9th.
You missed a game for wedding prep.
I missed 2 games because I was on a stag do on the weekend.
Ooh.
Which is why my voice has gone a bit like this. But,
I hear.
in cost but yeah, 6th league game on Saturday. We didn't get our first win last season until our 7th game, right? So and we've talked about that table since McKenna's been here. Let's not forget, for I think it was about 5-6 games last season, we couldn't find the back of the net. So there's been improvements there. I do understand what people getting a bit worried about another striker. I do think we are a bit light, because I would have had, whilst TJJ and Chaplin could probably do a job there, I think they're going to be more effective out wide. So you've only really got Ladapo and Jackson as your strikers there. The Bon argument, I kind of feel that if Bon, I agree with what you were saying, Gov, which is like if Bon was the target, he would have been here. It was a fairly easy, from what I understand, it's fairly easy transfer to do. So if we now go back in for him, like George says there will be a few little comments from fans and all the rest of it in terms of ambition, this, that, and the other. But again, if Bon finds the back of the net first game or whatever, and everyone forgets, right? Yeah, and he did have a hot streak. My only concern with Bon and our formation, because I think if you look at him, if you look at that profile, which McKenna likes to call a lot of players by their profiles, he is quick. He can get behind. He's physical as well. He's kind of a bit of a hybrid between Ladapo and Jackson. The only problem with him is whether the play doesn't keep up with him, or his movement's too quick or something, or he's just lazy in terms of timing his run. But you can't deny the amount of times he gets caught offside. That's a frustration. So maybe that will change. Let's cast our mind back to last season. Last day of the transfer window, Morsey and Selena were signed, but doing deals or whatever in motorway services and stuff and all the rest of it. So I have full confidence there'll be at least one striker coming in, possibly another midfielder. Certainly with Elmis and Harper going out, all it takes is a long-term injury to one of your midfielders, and we're looking a bit light then. But no, like, team are playing good football. Let's try and take the positives from Saturday. That's probably a game we would have lost, last season maybe. Yeah. Right? Remember Cambridge beat us at home. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Barnsley's 2 goals that they get are down to errors. Then it's not because they've got the better of us, if you like. It's down to our own errors. We can place blame at whoever or whatever, but like it's our own problem. It's our own fault. But
Absolutely.
And like I did end up watching the full 90 minutes on iFollow. Hungover yesterday, so it was a bit in and out at times. But like was it Stephen saying earlier, for almost 100 minutes we were pushing teams, and that's what we're going to do each game. And I look, 4 games on the spin hadn't been done since Lambert. Now we've done it, and it looked like we were, we look good value for the wins, right? It doesn't look like we've just scraped wins and whatever. Barnsley, it's one of those we got a draw. We look good value, at least good value for the draw, in terms of a lot of people saying we should have got 3 points or whatever. And again, if it wasn't our own individual mistakes, we do that. But footballers are human. People are going to make mistakes, and at the end of the day, I'd rather these little kinks happen now, and then like George said and a few others said, when you get to that 10 game, 15 maybe as well, you put a real line in the sand between you and the rest of the teams. We're only second on goals scored as well. Not even goal difference, it's goals scored that we're actually second on. So, Peterborough could have potentially gone a point clear or something. So, not Peterborough, Portsmouth. But there's there's strikers out there. So I've heard we are looking at that Portsmouth striker, the one who plays up front for them. Joe Piggott, is it? I think he's on his way back maybe. He's like,
I don't think we are, Callie. I love the joke, but you said about positivity, and I like that. So let's capture that for a moment. Connor Chaplin, you also mentioned Selena was signed deadline down. This year, 3 goals, 1 assist, 11 chances created, 0 big chances missed. He's been in phenomenal form, and again on Saturday, just a hell of a free kick, a hell of a goal, and a great performance. I have my reservations whether he could 100% do what Selena did in terms of passing. I saw bits of that on Saturday. How have you seen his role in that team? Because I've really enjoyed it over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Up until probably McKenna coming, I was a bit underwhelmed by Connor Chaplin, just because this had been a championship player. Yes, he was scoring goals. Yes, he was doing bits, but he wasn't setting the world alight. Kind of similar how I was feeling about Selena as well. Like, we almost had that expectation that it should be better, and we can blame it on multiple factors. 19 new signings, the gel period, all that bullshit, right? So we can throw all that in there. But yeah, even at the beginning of the season, like pre-season, Chaplin didn't look like he was. Maybe he didn't step up to gear 4 or 5, and he was just at gear 3 in those games. And you're thinking, okay, is this the number 10? But now every game he's played, he looks the dogs. He looks dogs. His quality, his movement's good, and just generally us as a team, we're playing our football a lot higher up in the pitch, which is why we're scoring goals. Which is why Sam Morse is going to get you 10, 15 goals this season. So it's going to happen. And you've got, even like you were talking the point about who's going to pick up goals. Let's think about Shrewsbury the other week. That penalty that, came when Kane Vincent-Young got clattered down. KVY's in that position, right? KVY's going to get you goals this season, right? You got to hope that we're going to get a few goals from set pieces as well. Fridge scored off a set piece last season from a corner. I think we'll get defenders getting goals as well. I don't think, even the striker that comes in, I don't think they'll necessarily get you 20 goals, but they might get you 10 or 12, 13, 14, maybe 15 max. But I don't think it's going to be like a out and out, he's going to be top goal scorer, because the goals are going to be spread throughout the team. And it's just how we manage that. I think, there's a real self-belief amongst the lads that, they believe that on their day they can beat anyone. And I mean anyone. Like, on their day, they believe, you put Man United in front. Well, to be fair, anyone can beat Man United at the moment.
Well, they turn the corner.
Well, no, until they play us in the cup and
to turn that corner.
2 wins on the bounce now for Eric Ten Hag.
I don't know what that is. We just do 4 wins on the bounce, mate. That's what we do around here, mate. But no, it's we've got to look at the positive. I mean, yeah, the referee was shit. I get it. We know we've known for 4 years how bad referees are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel positive about this season. I genuinely don't think we'll touch playoffs. I think we'll be top 2. I said it on Twitter and I'll say it now. I don't think we'll lose at home in the league this season at all, right? We may even go undefeated all season, but I think we'll get dicked by a little, like, I don't know, bloody Port Vale or someone away or something. But I think at home, no one beats us at home. Nobody, right? And it's becoming a fortress. And you know what's also encouraging? We're getting the bigger crowds. And how long have we talked about we can't perform in front of bigger crowds? We can't do that. You know, okay, we drew on the weekend, but we have got a win at home. We've got a crowd behind us as well. And it's like as there's more people come in, the players get used to playing. So, you know, some of the players that haven't played in front of 20,000 people or whatever, they're getting used to that, and they get used to the expectation. And, you know, it's all the positivity from the stands need to just, you know, it needs to be positive from the stands so the players can vibe off that, I guess. But
Love it. Positive Cali, look. Positive ITK King Cali Bizzler. I like it. I love it.
Hungover. I might still be drunk, so I don't know.
You possibly could be. It's good to have you back on, Cali. Okay, before I let you go, you mentioned KVY will get you goals. Do you care to put a number on how many goals you'll get this year?
KVY? I'm going to have a little caveat here. So it's going to depend on Burns going to Qatar. So if Burns goes to Qatar, then he's going to have a longer run of games, and then he'll stay in for a bit longer while Burns comes back and gets back into the team. So I think I'm going to go with sort of like 8 to 10. Without Burns, I think we're looking about sort of 5 to 7.
Okay.
But certainly, either way, between 5 and 10 goals, I think KVY gets those. Remember, he scored before his injury. He knows where the back of the net is. Throughout his career as well, he's always scored goals. Look where he found himself in the Shrewsbury box. He was the highest man forward. And if it wasn't forward, well, there you go, exactly. So, you know, he'll find one. I just need Ladapo to find the back of the net. And I'm going to say something here, and you might have to clip it up, but I agreed with something Fisherman said earlier. Yeah, I know, shit, right? Right, it's mad. Maybe I still am drunk. It has to be. But I kind of agree that maybe whilst you don't give him the whole game, I'd certainly have Ladapo playing maybe a half tomorrow. Get a goal, get your confidence up, find the back of the net. You know, remember what it's like to score a goal again. Take that into Accrington.
Yeah.
And, you know, Saturday, we can go turn over Accrington. We'll get 3 points. Well, we get 3 points, and we get Andy Holtz's tears. What more do you want?
Well, I was going to ask you, you know, this is Accrington Stanley week. One word.
I'm there.
To sum up your feeling as we head into that.
Accrington Stanley. The club's okay, but the owner's a tin pot little shit. But that's about it.
I said one word. There's several. But Cali, we appreciate you as always. Look after yourself. Nurse that hangover. It's good to have him back on. Lots of great comments. One from Saj. The Dapper is a scrappy goal to get off the mark, and we'll then hopefully start banging them in regularly. Right, on to Northampton, the Papa John's Trophy. Colin, how are you, my man? Glad to hear you. Glad to see you. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah. Hi, George. How are you?
Colin, all right, mate. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Good,
good man. Papa John's tomorrow. Is it an important trophy for you?
No, not really. I mean, it's the kind of tournament, you know, which is handy, obviously, to give other players minutes. And I absolutely agree with I've agreed with a lot of people. There's been a lot of sense spoken on here tonight. Listen to every word. And Mike spoke a lot of sense tonight. Steve Parry spoke a lot of sense. And Cali has just spoke a lot of sense. And
I'm just waiting for you to add me to that list, Colin, but I can...
And I totally agree about Ladapo, you know. The bloke is really lacking confidence. And I'll tell you what, because personally, I wouldn't play him Saturday. But I'd give him another 90 minutes tomorrow night.
I was going to say, would you play him tomorrow?
Sorry?
I'd play him, like I said, I agree, I'd play him tomorrow. But I think we may very well have someone else by Saturday.
If I was Kieran, like I said since game 2, Kieran's a top coach. I'd take him aside, and I'm sure he would do it because I know what that bloke is like. Put an arm around his shoulder. Say, look, it's not really going brilliant, is it, mate? You know, let's be totally honest about it. What I'm going to do is barring you getting injured tomorrow night, I'm going to give you 90 minutes. Okay, try and get you 1 or 2 goals. You'll be honest with him. You'll be on the bench on Saturday. You'll be on the bench Saturday, but I'm going to give you 90 tomorrow night. Hopefully you'll get a couple of goals. Boost his confidence. You'll be on the bench Saturday, possibly, probably come on with about 20 to go or whatever. You know, and like Callie said, yeah, and Mike said, you know, get his confidence right up. I totally agree with that. And obviously tomorrow night you can give Humphreys and the like minutes, and KVY for me needs another half tomorrow night. You know, things like that. And the Ladkey, I mean, look, if Walton plays the whole 46 games without getting an injury, fine. But is that, or illness, is that going to happen? Probably not. And there's probably going to be a time, maybe in the middle of the winter, when a Ladkey, you know, Mr. Walton's not feeling too sharp, you know, and maybe get a bit of COVID. You never know. He might be out for a couple of weeks. You know, you're going to have to go in today, Ladkey, you know, and like I say, that'll be a good run out for him tomorrow as well. But I'll tell you what, I've got to say something about Saturday.
Go for it.
You know,
your platform,
I did read a bit what a Barnsley fan put about, you know, referring to Ipswich supporters. Get over it. And to be fair to her, I totally agree with what she said. She said along the lines like a Jeff Boycott. Jeff Boycott, you know, when people used to get out LBW years ago, but it wasn't LBW. Jeff Boycott used to always say, look in the paper tomorrow. It will say LBW. Okay. Now that decision on Saturday was totally and utterly awful.
But it's gone. You're right.
Yeah. Let me finish, Gav, please. It was totally and utterly awful. But what we must do, and what I've done now, it took me a good till Sunday tea time, if I'm honest. But then I thought to myself, do you know what? We're still top. Like Callie quite rightly said, we're top second only but joint top, second only on goals scored. We go to Accrington on Saturday, and like I said to Mark Rattle on the phone yesterday, look, we can't be going to Accrington Stanley, with all due respect to Accrington Stanley. Now, I can remember like years and years ago when like they were like in the whatever it was, Northern Premier League.
Who was?
You know what I mean? They were Accrington Stanley.
Who are they? Sorry, I can do this all night.
Do you just want me to say exactly and then you'll stop?
No, I'm just enjoying it.
Exactly.
I'm just enjoying it.
But what I'm saying is, Gav, look, I'm looking at 0-2, 0-3 Saturday. Look, our squad, our team that will play, I would thought would have played on Saturday is coming. I said this to one or two people at the statue before I knew the lineups. I was very, very surprised Burgess didn't start Saturday. He headed everything for fun at Forest Green. You can screw your face up, Gov, if you like.
I had a bit of wind from
He headed everything for fun. He headed everything for fun at Forest Green. He headed everything for fun at Shrewsbury. He did absolutely nothing wrong. Look, Mike D said earlier, he gets turned. Yeah, maybe he does occasionally. But I'll tell you what, when you're playing somebody like Accrington or Burton, who are going to put it on top of you, right? You need somebody who can head that ball. I'll tell you what, if he'd have been playing Saturday, I bet you they wouldn't have scored that second goal. I'll bet you a pound or a penny. They would not have scored because he's a bit like Terry Butcher. He goes and he attacks the ball in the air. You know, I'll tell you, I've got a funny feeling you know, Rich always goes on about horses for courses, and I totally agree with that. And I think it's horses for courses on Saturday. I'll be absolutely staggered if he doesn't start on Saturday. I mean, just because, look, George Edmondson, I've got nothing but total admiration for that bloke, what he does on and off the field. But I'll tell you what, there's been 1 or 2 games this season where maybe he's feeling that ankle. I've noticed that once or twice. And if that's the case, pull him out like he did for Barnsley. Pull him out for 1 or 2 games and get him right. Because, you know, and as regards John Jules, I was at the game at Shrewsbury. I mean, the bloke was absolutely on fire at Shrewsbury. Now, on Saturday, we bring Ladapo in. We played John Jules in a totally different role. I agree with everybody what they've been saying tonight. There's a lot of sense been said on it, you know. So, like I say, I'd rest, and I don't mean drop, I'd rest Ladapo on Saturday. I'd rest Edmonds on Saturday. Whether that'll happen or not, you know, who knows? But I think there's horses for course, and you've got to play the side that
what
you think is going to, you know, withstand that.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. But what I would say about that Burgess selection before we go on to Northampton is I think it's purely down to how they perceive the opposition to play. So, you know, and this might be completely wrong, and I don't want to do any disrespect to Accrington Stanley, but I expect them to pepper our box with balls in the air. That's Burgess 100%. All day long. He'll eat that. He'll drink it. But then Barnsley, apologies, on Saturday, to my surprise, didn't pepper the ball into the box in the air. It was all through the ground. It was all through the floor. It was all through Thomas on the ground. Very similar to how we played. That's an Edmondson type game. Quick on the turn, quick in the tackle. So I think, again, it is those, as George was saying, those selections for matchups and different attributes that stand out. Would you play Burgess tomorrow then, Colin, with anticipation of playing him Saturday?
Oh, yeah, Burgess gets 45 to 60 for me tomorrow. I mean, look, these boys now look, I'd personally say what I've seen every game this season so far, and I'm going to go tomorrow night, actually, because I'm interested to see 1 or 2 things. I'll relay it to you, Gov, if you don't go.
I'll watch it, but I'm not going.
Yeah, fine. But I'm interested. Yeah, I would give Burgess 45, but possibly 55 and then drag him off. Definitely start him in view of Saturday. Any Ipswich Town supporter, and I'm sure this season, underline this season, I'm sure there's not many who are worried about going. Look, I'm going up there Saturday, and look, their last 2 home games, I know Rich will probably say, well, that don't mean nothing. But it does to me. They were 4-2 down to Burton, who have got 1 point, finished up drawing 4-4. Agreed, yep. They nearly won it in the end, but they conceded 4 goals to a very, very, very average side in League One. Then on Saturday, again at home, they drew 0-0 with Exeter. Now, when I'm thinking about Exeter and Burton, I'm thinking maybe 2 sides will probably definitely, in my mind, finish in the bottom 6 at the very, very least. And Accrington have took two points off those 2 sides in a 4-4 draw and a 0-0 draw. Now, if Ipswich Town, with the likes of Harness, Chaplin, who's on fire, John Jules, who's playing in the right role, is on fire. We've got arguably the best goalkeeper, arguably one of the best midfield players. If we can't go up to Accrington Stanley and beat them, we really don't deserve to be in the top 2, in my opinion. But we will be in the top 2. Because
perfectly said,
we've
Colin.
Turned around. The thing is, Gov, you've said it before, and you're absolutely 100% right. What we've done so far is we've turned nearly every result this season. I totally agree with what Steve Parry said earlier. You know, like MK were like near the bottom when we played them, but we think they'll probably be in the top 6. I mean, they went 4-0 at Morecambe on Saturday. I don't care if it's against Morecambe. That's a very good result. And Barnsley don't know about top 6, but I reckon they'll be 7th or 8th or round about that kind of place. So Bolton, teams that maybe once or twice we might have. Burton again, although we won the game, we was under the cosh, but we got points out of the game. We've turned games round that we would have lost one or two would have lost last season without no shadow.
Absolutely. Colin,
so
I'm going to have to stop you there because Craig Priest says, Gov, your baby will be due by the time Colin wraps up.
Well, to say as
come on, Colin. That's quite a good one, Colin. That's quite a good one. You've said some fantastic points in there, and I've actually written down quite a few for Wednesday's show because I actually really felt you were bringing the mustard, and right on it, really, completely on it. If you want to be in the top 2, you've got to beat Accrington Stanley. Colin,
also,
we love you on this
one
platform.
Last thing.
You can, but make it short, sharp, and sweet, just like yourself.
One last thing. Firstly, or two things. Firstly, Rich was absolutely spot on. We're one striker. I totally agree with that. We're one striker away from winning this league. He did say the other night, first or second, but he did say win the league. I remember him saying that. So, I totally agree with that. And also a big shout out to me mum. It's my mum's 99th birthday tomorrow.
99 and not out.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Mama Colin.
Joan.
Happy birthday, Joan. From here, all of us at Talking Town. 99 years, the things you have seen and done. Well done. Congratulations on an amazing 99 years. I can't imagine living that long. And you certainly wouldn't have done if you were in the Game of Thrones. But Colin, we love you and we appreciate you. Look after yourself.
Yes, Colin.
Okay, mate.
George, 5 minutes left to spare. We'll just quickly look at Northampton very quickly as they are the next game. Richard Keogh, looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think he, like I say, I think he brings something different to the other centre halves that we have. So I'm interested to see how he fits in. Absolutely,
you've got him in your team. You've got 3-5-2: Wolfenden, Keogh, and Burgess. Vincent Young, Greg Lee, not on the bench Saturday. You're bringing him straight into, and obviously Ball and Humphreys, Aluko, Harness, and Ladapo. That should be a strong enough team to dispatch a Northampton.
It's like a strong team. Yeah, I think the Lee thing may depend on whether Davis has got too much of an injury from the weekend. I don't know if we've had an update, have we? But I may have just missed it. But yeah, I think that we may see a youngster there if there's a chance that Lee's going to be needed from the start on Saturday, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. It's one more game, isn't it? And I think there's no reason for us to not be, playing strong teams in these. It's difficult, isn't it? Weighing that balance between not really caring about the Pizza Cup, but as I keep saying every time we have this conversation, I don't want us to go into any game and not try and win football. I don't think it's the right approach ever, and I certainly don't think it's the right message to the team. And it's not the right kind of football that McKenna, I suspect, wants to play. If we want to instill that winning formula across the club, then
it's the Reserve Cup, though, isn't it?
But whether we care about it or not,
I couldn't give two.
We want our under-18s to win their games. We want our under-23s to win their games. Whatever you call these guys, whether it's reserves or whatever, we want them to be winning games because we want them to be pushing for a place in the first team.
Absolutely. Well, that's absolutely true. As Ashley Bell says there, we want to see our younger players get some decent minutes tomorrow. I think McKenna might learn from the Fizzy Pop Cup. Ashley did put a fantastic comment in the chat earlier about the McKenna comments. Here it is. K-Mex said something interesting today about it being a competition for fringe players during the group stage. So maybe once we're into the knockouts, maybe he strengthens up and goes.
Yeah, once he smells the trophy, of course he will.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got to get through it. Craig would like to see Humphrey start tomorrow night. He's in your 11. I think he will. I think he's naturally at the moment the number 4. If you've got Evans, Morsey, then Ball, and then it's Humphreys naturally, unless somebody.
Yeah, again, I'm looking forward to seeing Ball in a competitive game as much as I'm looking forward to, if not more than I'm looking forward to seeing Keogh, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. And we're live tomorrow, 7:15. We are live. The pre-game show. Myself, Steve, maybe Neil. Maybe not, Neil. So if you fancy joining us, let me know. We are not live at Portman Road. We are live from the from our respective locations. I'll call it the studio just because it sounds more professional. But you won't catch me paying any money for a reserve cup, and that's what I truly think it is. I truly think it is a reserve. I remember a day when the Sydney Holders would get reserve games for free. No, it annoys me, this cup, George, and I'll go into it tomorrow. But it really annoys me. It really annoys me. It really annoys that you're asking some of the smallest clubs in England with the smallest budgets and the smallest playing squads to play at least 3 more games.
But all of that nonsense suggests that
when all the scheduling does at the top end of it,
be walking it though, doesn't it? If it's all about the small clubs and then being poor,
well, no, because we treat it.
We should be annihilating them. But even like
you say that
they are that small.
But 2 years in a row, we've almost qualified from the group, and we haven't done through either a penalty shootout or something stupid or silly. Even the Lambert, we nearly qualified out of the group stage. But yeah, at the top end of the pyramid, there always seems to be allowances done for the bigger squads, like teams in Europe, not in the first round of the Carling Cup. Like, you're asking the smaller squads to take on the brunt.
6-week break for the World Cup.
There you go. Exactly. But it just seems a little bit like, I don't know. What are we doing? What are we asking? Like, it can't be that much of a revenue winner tomorrow night when you've got, I don't know, let's pull 2 teams out my backside. Salford versus Port Vale, right? Both are going to be reserve teams. The home team is going to earn how much from that game? It probably cost them more to fucking put it on.
But exactly, you've got a point, which is that it is more or less a reserve cup, but then call it what it is and stop forcing teams to play a minimum of 4 players or players that have had 40 professional appearances or whatever the stupid rules are that you sent me earlier for your starting 11. It's either a reserve cup or it's not. And quite frankly, we don't need more than 2 cups that we're going to take seriously. I just want us to take those 2 cups seriously, but we're playing it. And if we're playing a competitive game of football, I expect us to take it seriously.
Absolutely. No, and you're absolutely right on that. Absolutely right. And I would like it more if the Premier League teams that we've allowed in, and we should never have done that, by the way, but we have, were made to play 5 first-team players.
Yeah.
I want to, because then...
That is, it makes a mockery of it because they force the top level,
the reserves
in it, to the reserves to play a minimum number of players based on arbitrary things, whatever it was, and I can't remember because it was very complicated. But then they let in under 21s teams from Premier League clubs as if to say, they might get you some fans through the door.
Whereas the opposite. You know what? You want to be in this? You play at least 5 first-team players.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
You watch how quickly they suddenly lose the idea of development through competitive.
It doesn't quite work as a concept for me, but as I say.
But what does work as a concept is Talking Town, the fan platform for fans, by fans, live media, can go anywhere. The notes I have for tonight basically were worth shockingly nothing.
No, right?
We didn't go anywhere near the talking points. And that is what we call a great night here at the Towers. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. There's not long left. I might go and watch House of Dragon episode 2. Unbelievably, George has never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones. Have you, George?
I haven't. And I don't feel like my life is any less rich because of it. Bombshell.
I can't believe it. And to end, I will end with a quote that George will probably have no clue. I drink, and that is why I know things. Till tomorrow, 7:15. With love, with care.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. Oh, yes, lover. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, yes, lover. Oh, please, lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I felt went crazy from just the thought of you.